Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 65th episode of In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly cyber threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 27th of August, and my name is George Glass, an Associate Managing Director in the Cyber Threat Intelligence team. Joining me today from the CTI team are Mukesh Nagar and Dave Truman. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends that our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So let's get into the situation report. First up, and this is something that we covered in our Q2 briefing, if you tuned into that. Researchers at Palo Alto have discovered an extortion campaign targeting corporate data hosted on AWS cloud platforms. The attackers exfiltrated the data and placed ransom notes in the compromised cloud storage containers. The attack success was due to misconfigurations by the victim organizations that exposed the .env files containing credentials for various cloud, on-premise, and social media applications. The attackers used the Tor network, VPN, and API-enabled automation to get in and out quickly and evade detection. Second up, and this is something that's really breaking, and I think financial organizations are dealing with this currently. Kroll has received reports from financial institutions about an increase in the occurrence of attacks targeting elderly customers of banks that do not have online banking. Scammers are buying data leaked from data breaches to create online accounts. Using the same information and potentially leveraging AI deepfakes, the scammers then pose as employees from the bank's fraud department to trick the victims into sending them one-time password codes to gain complete control of the online accounts. The scammers then convince the victim to transfer money from their old accounts to a new account controlled by the attacker. This is evolving TTPs right now, and we hopefully we'll be able to share some more information on that soon. But this is something that is going on right now and appears to be affecting many financial organizations. Next up, some physical security. Researchers at Quark's lab have discovered a backdoor in the RFID card known as MyFair Classic, manufactured by Shanghai Fudan Microelectrics. Through this backdoor, anyone with access to a card for a few minutes will be able to compromise all user-defined keys. Attackers will then be able to clone or emulate the card and gain access to restricted areas in victim organizations' buildings. Researchers have found that these cards are used in numerous hotel rooms across the US, Europe, and India. The specific cards that are vulnerable to this backdoor are the FM11RF08 and the FM11RF08S cards. I'm certain that's going to start appearing on FlipperOne forums soon as well. Lastly, to summarize one of our articles in this week's report, it seems that the threat actors behind Ice Nova, aka Lacrodectus, are in the testing phase with a new variant of the loader malware, which is used to drop post-exploitation frameworks such as Cobalt Strike and BRUTERATEL. More on BRUTERATEL later in the briefing. The new testing variants have replaced the older RC4 encryption method with AES-256, and it also incorporates a self-deletion technique. Changes like this typically indicate that a new campaign is on its way in the near future, likely ready for the Q4 glut of malspam. Kroll believes that these changes do not impact our detection capability for Ice Nova, but make sure to check out the report for further technical details. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, please do get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. So let's get on to the rest of today's briefing. Today, we're going to cover the following trends our team is concentrating on. I'm going to cover some updates to the Microsoft patching cycle, including a new Downdate attack and some news on a zero-day that was being exploited by Lazarus Group. Mukesh will be taking us through the use of EDR and AV killers, and Dave will be covering this week's malware spotlight on BRUTERATEL. So let's talk about this new Downdate attack. A method of downgrading patches on Windows machines, dubbed Windows Downdate, was presented by Alon Levev, in a security researcher at SafeBreach at the Black Hat conference on August 7th, 2024, with a POC released on August 20th to GitHub. According to SafeBreach, the flaws were communicated to Microsoft in February 2024, and in August, Microsoft acknowledged the two vulnerabilities, issuing CVE 2024-21302 and 38202. 21302 enables an attacker with administrative privileges on the target system to replace current Windows system files with outdated versions. Successful exploitation provides an attacker with the ability to reintroduce previously mitigated vulnerabilities, circumvent VBS security features, and exfiltrate data protected by VBS. Obviously, a very serious vulnerability there. And 38202 enables an attacker to perform privilege escalation in Windows Update, potentially enabling an attacker with basic user privileges to reintroduce the previously mitigated vulnerabilities and circumvent some features of VBS. So those are the two vulnerabilities there that sort of make up this attack. Microsoft is developing a security update to mitigate the threat, but it's not yet available. But Microsoft did provide workarounds and guidance on the CVE pages, so absolutely go and read the report on this one. The CTI team has been investigating the ramifications of the vulnerabilities, the methodologies to exploit them, and POC code, along with the awesome detection engineering team here. The POC code posted to GitHub contains Python scripts to automate the process of exploiting the vulnerabilities, in addition to 7 examples of extremely potent vulnerabilities that can be reintroduced into Windows systems. And just some of them here affect the Hyper-V hypervisor downgrade, kernel suite downgrade, and VBS UEFI lock bypasses. Obviously, very significant vulnerabilities that allow threat actors to access areas of the operating system that they otherwise would not be able to, install stealthy malware, and potentially escape sandboxes. According to that, Kroll has developed specific detections for this activity. However, it's important to note that these vulnerabilities have not been fully addressed by Microsoft. They are not patched. Kroll has confirmed that the fully patched Windows machines are still vulnerable to Downdate attacks, those machines that the mitigations were not applied to, and that's a fully up-to-date Windows environment as of August. We here in the CTI team expect that these vulnerabilities will be exploited in the short to medium term. So yes, really serious vulnerabilities there. Certainly worth reading the report on that one. Next from me is some news, again, from the August patch cycle. This pertains to the Lazarus group exploiting CVE 2024-38193. And we track that group as KTA 017. According to a report by Gen Digital, that the flaw allowed the threat actors to gain unauthorized access to sensitive system areas. They also discovered that they use a special type of malware called FUD module, which had been previously used by Lazarus to hide their activities from security software. Gen Digital did not supply additional technical details right now or a timescale of the intrusion. So we don't know exactly how long that vulnerability has been exploited in the wild. But we do know that KTA 017 has previously leveraged Windows 0 days to achieve similar actions on objectives, targeting those in the cryptocurrency industry and finance industry especially. And so therefore, it's very, very important to keep Windows systems patched and up to date to prevent future attacks using this vulnerability. And that's it from me this week. I will hand over now to Mukesh to talk to us about these EDR and AV killers. Mukesh, over to you, mate.
Thanks a lot. So there's been a significant increase in the use of advanced tools by threat actors to disable EDR and AV systems, exemplified by the EDR killer shifter tool, which has been linked to the ransomware group RansomHub, or as we internally track it as KTA 270. Now, the EDR killer shifter tool utilizes the bring your own vulnerable driver technique, which exploits weak drivers to escalate privileges and effectively terminate security processes. The tool initiates its attack by running an executable that decrypts and loads a payload into memory, which then drops an exploitable driver file into the temporary directory. The file is used to continuously scan for and terminate specific security processes, including endpoint defense and response tools, as well as AV agents. The growing adaptation of such tools underscores the importance of implementing a robust detection system earlier in the attack chain before these tools are being used to disable. Further detailed information can be found in the full report. Back over to you.
Thanks, Mukesh. And now we go to Dave for this week's Malware Spotlight on BRUTERATEL. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. BRUTERATEL is a post-exploitation toolkit originally designed by a former CrowdStrike employee for red team and pentest work. It was initially released in December 2020, but by July 2022, the toolkit had been cracked and shared across hacker forums. Malicious actors, including likely state-sponsored groups, began using it for malicious purposes. The tool is specifically designed to avoid endpoint detection and response tools. It accomplishes this by utilizing multiple invasion techniques, making this malware very stealthy. This, together with its wide feature set, make it very dangerous in the wrong hands. The most common method of initial access is phishing. The emails tend to make use of containers such as ISOs or compression archives. In one example, a phishing email contained a link which led to a zip file which contained an ISO compromising the malware executables. The use of multiple containers in that case was likely an attempt to bypass mark of the web protections. DLL proxying has been used to execute BRUTERATEL. In multiple campaigns, DLL proxying is like DLL sideloading, where a malicious DLL is provided alongside a legitimate application. However, with DLL proxying, a renamed original legitimate DLL is also provided. The malicious code will call the original DLL from the legitimate with a legitimate code alongside its own malicious code. This means that the application will appear to behave the same as a non-weaponized version. Due to the EDR bypassing technique, BRUTERATEL utilizes it. It is important to make sure perimeter scanning for malicious emails takes place alongside user training. Thank you. George?
Thank you very much, Dave. And thank you to Mukesh for also presenting today. That's all we have for this week. If you have any questions or comments, please do reach out to us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. Have a wonderful day.